which everybody is mentioning, is the saddle tilt.
Oh,
why
yeah,
is it? Why is it tilted this way?
If you realize, there's a little hump right at the front. So if I were to make it flat, it gets really uncomfortable, right, on my man parts when I'm cycling.
Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm here with Kenley, and he has a Merida Reacto 5000. Kenley, thank you so much for coming over. I know you came all the way from Woodlands, so I really appreciate you driving over. You have a Merida Reacto 5000. Is there an E at the back?
No, there's no E at the back, so it's just a Merida 5000.
Okay,
yeah, I guess the key difference between the 7000 E and the 5000, I think the key difference is just the components. I think E is the one probably with the Ultegra Di2.
But in terms of the carbon grade and whatever, it's the same, right?
Carbon grade and everything is all the same. So I think the carbon layup, if I think it's this is CF3. But the Merida Reacto team, I think they have a layup of CF5, which is a lot lighter.
Right. And you were telling me you are a mountain biker. You actually went mountain biking this morning, and you just got into road biking. Yeah.
So actually, this is my first road bike. I've owned this bike for approximately 5 months now, and I think how I got into road biking is pretty interesting as well, right? I got a cross-country mountain bike first, XC full carbon, full suspension bike, and I started going out with my roadie friends on the road, and I realized that hey, actually I could keep up, and why not give road biking a try? So I didn't want to spend too much, right? I think my budget back then was probably around 4 to 4.5k. There were a couple of options that I was considering, right? There was the Giant Propel Advanced, and of course the Merida as well. I think these two were the only bikes that were within my means, but I think value-wise and from a weight perspective as well, Merida won hands down, right? So Giant Propel Advanced 2 was probably around 4.5 to 4.8k, but it came with 105 parts, right? So this Merida, I got it right from Carousel, right? 4,000 with Ultegra parts. Yeah.
I actually started off just like you. I was a mountain biker, a cross-country bike, and then my friends started all getting into road bikes, and then I took my cross-country bike and I joined them, and it was a bit difficult, man. And then I finally decided to make the switch over to a road bike.
Yeah.
This bike, can you tell us more about the Groupset and what do you have on here?
Yeah. Okay. So Groupset wise, it's full Ultegra except the crankset, which is I think is a Shimano OEM crankset, and cassette is 105. Right, everything else you see, including the disc rotos weren't Ultegra as well. It was I think RT64 disc rotor, 16mm if I recall correctly. So the only upgrades I made to the bike were the disc brakes, which I swapped up to Ultegra because I just like the looks of it, and the other upgrade I made would be the wheels. So the wheels were kind of interesting. I got it off AliExpress. It's this brand called Elitewheels, right? I got it. I think it's pretty good value as well. Price-wise, I paid around 1,003 during 11/11 sale, and I think the weight-wise, I think it's approximately 1.3 kg. Right? So it's a big difference from what the Merida originally came with, which was their, I think, Merida CW Expert stock wheels. Right. Those weigh a ton. Okay.
What is the weight of the bike now?
If I can hazard a guess, probably 8.2 kg, the last I weighed. Yeah, but that's clean without anything on.
Your height and the frame size?
So frame size is XS. My height is 171 cm.
Yeah. Well, XS is pretty small, but it doesn't look small.
It does. Okay, so Merida sizing runs a little big, right? So the XS that you see here would probably be, I think, a size 52 equivalent for a specialized Tarmac SL7. Yeah.
On the wheel set, why do you decide to go for this? Why not Windspace?
Why not Windspace?
Or any other brands for that matter?
Okay, I think really it's just, I think it boils down to the fact that I'm, maybe a cheapskate, right? Or somebody who really values value, right? In a sense, right? So I think Windspace was around 1,005 to 1,006, right? And it was also a little heavier. I think Windspace Hypers was, I think, 1.5 kilograms thereabout. So if I could get something lighter for cheaper. I think that was what I went along with lah. And I think in terms of reviews wise online, I haven't come across a bad one. And service wise, even though it's a wheelset ordered from AliExpress, I've gotten pretty good service from them. So in fact, when the wheelset first came, they gave me the wrong center lock ring, right? So I just wrote them back, right? They were very responsive, and they sent one over really quickly, right? So no complaints there.
Why did you go for a deeper wheelset since it's an aero frame?
Why? That's a very good question actually. I think for Singapore's roads, 45mm is just enough, right? In terms of, right, you have the little aero component as well, and you also have that agile aspect, which when you marry it together, I think 45 would be a suitable match for Singapore's terrain. Yeah.
So on this, let's talk about handlebar. This handlebar is part of the Merida handlebar, or it's something else?
Yeah. So I should also go back, right? So I got the bike from Carousel, right? It's actually a parallel importer called Correct Choice. So when the bike came stock, handlebars were stock. Everything, handlebars stock. Handlebar was stock, and I just had to pay a deposit of I think 2,000, half the value of the bike, and then the remaining when it arrives in Singapore.
So to my guests who are not familiar with parallel importing, can you explain what is parallel importing?
Yeah, so the brand Merida is actually brought in by Hapdong, if I recall correctly. But interestingly enough, they do not have stock, right? But when I went to Carousel and other means, I found out that there were actually quite a few parallel importers on Carousel bringing in these bikes, and they had no issues with stock. The only thing that I would say would be the slightly longer waiting time. So this bike took approximately 4 to 6 weeks for it to arrive to Singapore, and I believe it was shipped from Taiwan.
What are the tips that you can give for someone who wants to buy a bike that's parallel imported? What should they look out for?
I think you should look out for the reviews on Carousel, right? I think $2,000, right, to pay to a relatively unknown seller on Carousel is a somewhat daunting thing to do. So I think one tip would be to always look at the reviews, right? And this particular merchant on Carousel called Correct Choice, I think he had a lot of 5-star reviews, right? So I think that gave me some comfort to actually make that payment.
What's the guarantee like? Let's say if the frame comes and it's something that's a defect.
Right, so Merida offers, I believe this particular parallel importer offers 5 years warranty, but if I recall correctly, Merida offers lifetime warranty on their frames.
Okay.
Right, so just got to bear that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to speak about the frame now, so excuse me for my lack of knowledge of Merida frames. So Reacto, it's a very nice frame. Are there different tiers for the Reacto, or is it only one tier?
There are different tiers, right? So this is the I would say the base grade, right, in terms of the carbon layout. So this is the CF3. They have a more expensive version, which is the CF5, which is a team version, right? So I think the only difference would just be the weight, right? So CF5, I think it's 100 to 200 grams lighter than the CF3.
Right. So the Bahrain Merida, I'm assuming, is the CF5,
yeah,
right?
CF5 for sure.
Do they have one where there's no light on the seat post? I mean, that really irritates me, man.
So that's the lights are actually pretty annoying, right? Because it's very finicky. It's very easy to turn it off or turn it on just by the way you carry it. So, but you can remove it. But the thing is, if you remove it, it just looks weird because your aero seat post would have a little, wedge in it.
So even the highest end Merida frame,
I think they still have the have the light. Yeah.
So in those pro teams when they ride, there's the light behind?
I would think so, yeah.
It looks super
I got to go and check
ugly,
the Tour de France in 2021.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you liking this frame and this bike?
So far, I think I like it. It suits my needs, right? I think at the end of the day, I'm still a mountain biker at heart, right? So as soon as when the weather is dry, I think mountain bike will still be my first choice. So I probably ride this maybe once or twice a week, right? On a weekday night and on a weekend morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is just to supplement your mountain biking.
Yeah, correct. In case if the trails are wet, muddy, then I'll take the road bike off for a spin.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying road biking so far in the past 5-6 months?
Yeah. So I think coming into the road biking scene, I think clipless was a first for me, right? And what threw me off, or what really surprised me was how stiff road bike frames are, right? So when I go on bumps, it was very jarring, right, to me, coming from, you know, the mountain biking background where you have full suspension. So that was interesting. And I think one other thing that I found interesting was also, you know, the effect of crosswinds, right, which you never get, which you never experience when you're mountain biking because you're, you know, in the trails, right? But whenever, you know, a heavy vehicle passes you, you actually feel the little tug, right, towards the left, right? So that was interesting to me. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking from my personal experience, right, I found that when I was riding mountain bikes, the maintenance was way more higher compared to a road bike. Do you share the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. So when you take your mountain bike in for full servicing, when they strip everything, mountain bikes typically come in, you have the front, the main frame, and you also have the rear triangle. If it's a full suspension, you know, there would be bearings and linkages which will be able to detach the main frame from the triangle, right? So sometimes the bearings, they get eroded as well. So that's extra cost, right, when you have to replace them during servicing.
Not to mention the fork as well.
And the fork, you get the fork, you get the dropper, and you also get the rear shock, right? So I think if you want to service the front fork alone, it's probably gonna cost upwards of $150.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, I think it adds up, right? As compared to road bike, where it's you know, mechanically very simple, right? All you have is the drivetrain, maybe bleeding of the brakes, which is I think fairly straightforward, and perhaps the internal cable routing also, which is might be a bit tricky, I think, for you know, people who are not that hands-on.
Right. What do you dislike about your bike?
What do I dislike?
The frame or any components that you don't like?
I think the handlebars were somewhat on the heavy side, right? I think the stem also is pretty heavy. So I think the bar and stem combo probably weighs upwards of 500 grams.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, so yeah. And I think the saddle that it came with was also pretty heavy as well, because it came with a little toolbox, right, at the back of it. So I swapped that out. Yeah, so when the bike first came with the stock wheel set, I think it probably weighed maybe 8.9.
Right.
And once I swapped the saddle and the wheels out, I managed to get it down to probably around 8.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had unlimited or have unlimited money,
yeah,
what would be the dream bike, road bike?
Oh, I like Factor. I like Factor bikes. Factor bikes, they just got something about them. Pretty sexy. You don't see them very often on the roads as well, right? You know, on a typical Saturday morning when I'm riding, or a weekend night for that matter, most bikes that I will see would be, the most common bikes that I will see would be the Tarmac, a lot of Pinarellos as well.
Madons, you miss Madons.
Track Madons as well, yeah. Madons on your channel as well, right? So, but I hardly see, you know, Merida, right? So, yeah, sorry, what was the question again? I kind of lost it.
What would be a dream bike?
My dream bike. So back to Factor, right? Factor is something that you hardly see, and you know, when I pass by one, or when one passes by me, I always take a moment to just admire the color and, you know, how it's shaped.
There's one video I did of the Seika frame.
Oh, and the Seika as well. Yeah.
Don't you think the Seika looks like a Factor?
It does actually. So before I even got the Merida, I think Seika was also a brand that I was considering, but that was before Jack from the Bike Doctors brought it in. So Seika back then, I think last August, was a relatively unknown brand in Singapore, and it was only sold via AliExpress, Taobao, and there was one carousel seller selling it also. So I think what I thought would be, you know, it'd be cool to actually build one up, but parts availability, you know, were a real thing back then.
So we'll move on to the Instagram Q&A. If you guys want to ask your questions, you can follow me on Instagram and you can submit your questions. Kenley, we've got a lot of questions.
Sure, happy to answer them.
I'm playing the music in my head first. Okay, the first question, which everybody is mentioning, is the saddle tilt. Why is it tilted this way?
If you realize, there's a little hump right at the front. So if I were to make it flat, it gets really uncomfortable, right, on my man parts when I'm cycling. So I think the only way to alleviate that problem would be to just tilt it down slightly. Yeah, and I should probably also go for a bike fit soon, right? Because, you know, when I go for long rides, 100 kilometers and above, I get neck pain, lower back pain, I think wrist hurts also. Yeah, so I think I should probably go for a bike fit pretty soon.
Right.
On that note.
Right. Speaking of sizing and fit, right?
Yeah.
How do you decide that XS was the size for you?
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, the carousel seller actually recommended. I initially wanted a size M, right? Based on the Merida's website where they have this little application where you key in your height, your inseam, and then they would tabulate a suitable size for you. But thank goodness I didn't go for M, right? XS fitted me, I think, pretty well, right? I think even S would have been too big for me.
So based on the chart or the application that you used, the website recommended an M.
I think it was either S or an M.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like a totally different size.
It's a totally different size. So I think take it with a pinch of salt if you were to buy a Merida. Right. Yeah. Always check with the seller.
Okay, because I remember when I was hunting for bikes back then, getting the right size was always a difficulty for me. Like I'm always in between sizes. Yeah. So like either SM 52, so like you don't really know where to go. Yeah. So I guess you got to go and try it out, right?
Yeah, you have to try it out. But for me, I think I was lucky. I didn't have the chance to try the bike out. But when it came, I guess it fitted just well, just nice for me.
Right. Okay, I would say 80% of the questions were on the saddle tilt. So if it's tilted down like this, don't you feel that you're always sliding down? There's like so much pressure on your hands, right?
But that could be one reason why I get wrist pain as well. Yeah. So once again, I think the solution would be to go for a bike fit. Yeah.
Okay. Next question is this bike meant for climbs or sprinting?
I think it can do both pretty well, and that's also why I spec'd it with a 45mm wheel set. Right, it's light enough, it's stiff enough, and I think the only thing that would hinder climbing would probably be either your fitness or your legs.
So you would say it's okay on the
I think it's fine. Yeah, I could do Soswai, I could do the there's a Norwegian Siemens mission. Siemens mission along Pasir Panjang. I think it was pretty okay on this bike as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's not the bike, it's the legs.
It's the legs, man. It's all about the legs. Yeah.
Next question is: this crank is pretty heavy. Any plans to swap it out?
So if I were to swap it out, I would probably get a crank that comes with a power meter. Right, so I think that's probably the most economical decision, I would say. Yeah.
Next question is on the bike color. Why do people like full black bikes? Doesn't it seem dull and a lack of character?
Yeah, for me, I just like I just don't like to be flashy. I think in fact black is pretty much understated, right? And if you pair it with this 10 wheels, it's somewhat elegant as well, and it's really it's a color combo that I like very much. So when I thought about getting a road bike, I've always envisioned it to be black against a 10 tire. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
These tires are the Goodyear Eagle F1.
Yeah, Goodyear Eagle F1.
It came with the bike?
No. So the stock wheel set came with, I think, Continental Sports. Yeah.
Why do you choose Goodyear?
Oh, because for a very simple reason, and because Goodyear, I like this particular shade of tan, and Goodyear happened to have one. GP5000s also have this particular colorway, but they're pretty hard to get. Everywhere is out of stock.
So you chose it because of color?
Just purely color. And I happened to read about the Goodyear Eagle F1s as well. Pretty good reviews. Never read anything bad about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this a tubeless or clincher setup?
Tubeless.
Why do you decide tubeless?
So when I had the stock wheel set on, I think I pumped it up to probably 95 to 100 psi, right? And it was really jarring. The ride was really jarring when I went over humps, right? So I think tubeless allowed me to run lower pressure. So when I ride this is probably around 75 to 80 psi, right? So it smooths out a lot of those vibrations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, that is all the questions because everyone was asking about the saddle tilt. Okay, maybe I should ask you questions.
Yeah, sure.
I find it very boring asking this question, but I don't know if you're going to anticipate this question.
OSPW, is it? Yeah. No, I don't believe in OSPW.
What's the reason?
Yeah.
Is it because of price or performance?
Performance is one thing. Price is a huge factor as well, right? I mean, you're paying like $800 to $1,000 for something that gives you marginal gains, and I think at my level, the kind of level that I ride at, it's just not necessary. Yeah.
Next upgrade on the bike?
Probably, if I were to go for a bike fit, maybe an integrated aero bar, just to cut some weight, right? And probably the crankset as well, right? If I were to get a power meter, it would be one that is that comes with the crankset.
Why not the pedal then? Because you're going to swap out the crank already. That's why you want.
Yeah, exactly. And it means that I would also have to either sell this pair of pedals or it's just simpler if I just change the cranks.
Okay. That is the end of the questions.
Sure.
Very, very straight to the point interview. Do you have anything else you would like to speak about?
No, but I just so if anybody's looking out for their first bike, I think Merida would be a I think a good choice. I hardly see any on the roads. So far in the 5 months of riding, I've only ever seen probably around 3 right on the roads in the Bahrain McLaren colors, which is a lot more flashy.
The orange one, right?
The orange one, yeah.
I that would be another bike that I would want to get. Just that seat post and the light, man. That thing.
Oh yeah.
They need to fix that light there.
Correct. The new Scoteras are pretty cool as well, right? They are the Tarmac SL7's equivalent, where you combine the aero and the lightweight climbing bikes. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. Kenley, thank you so much for coming on my show.
No problem.
Ride safe. I hope to see you on the roads.
Sure.
If you guys want to ask any other questions, you can follow me on Instagram. If you want to feature your bike, just DM me on Instagram and we can sort something out. So again, Kenley, thank you so much for coming and
thank you.
There's no going back. You stepped across.